So hi, good morning. देखो मैंने बोला था ना, एक दिन के पंछी उड़ गए फिर. So what we talked about, terracotta sculpture and bronze sculpture also we have completed, and sculpture part we have completed. So as the pottery and so as the seals. ठीक है? तो we'll start with the ornaments and jewelry and then we'll go into the town planning. So a little bit of town planning you have studied in your ancient part, but then थोड़ा बहुत और देख लेंगे, ठीक है? And then the important topic for today's class is basically in the Maurya age stupas, ठीक है? So let's start with the town planning. नहीं town planning नहीं, ornaments and jewelry of Indus Valley. इतना congested क्यों? भैया जितेंद्र इसको आगे कर. तो पूरा इसमें चिपका दिया है. So now, looking at the ornaments and jewelry which were used by Indus Valley people, it seems that they had a very good fashion sense then. So in fact, they used a variety of the ornaments. We'll look at that what all metals and the things which have gone into the creation of these ornaments. So it included a necklace, then pendants, rings, then earrings also, earrings, apart from it, waistband, then bangles. So these were the different varieties of the ornaments that they were using then. And as far as these ornaments are concerned, so what is needed over here is the material with which these ornaments were created. So as far as these all parts are concerned, metals were also used, and metals के अलावा semi-precious stones were also used in the creation of it. So metals में mainly that there were some instances of the gold, ठीक है, bronze also, gold, bronze, but then majority gold, bronze, even silver also, very few instances, बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं, hardly few percent, 1 or 2%, but then majority of the ornaments were created from the semi-precious stones, ठीक है? And semi-precious stones include, so they used amethyst, then they further used jade, carnelian, lapis lazuli, and even colored marbles were also used in the creation of the ornaments. Okay? So colored marbles. So these all ornaments were created by them. They were used. It was used by them. And as far as the bangles are concerned, so bangles were also created with the process, the one which we know even today's time. Okay? So in the same process, and these bangles were mainly created at one particular place, Kalibangan. Then, so we have found n number of the bangles from Kalibangan, and in fact there was this place in Pakistan part, Chanudaro. So Chanudaro was meant for, it was meant for bead production. What is bead? Moti. So for example, these things which we have written, these semi-precious stones which we have written, so इन्हीं को मोती के shape में काट के, ठीक है? So the carving or creation of the bead was happening with these all material at this particular place. So these were two important towns of the jewelry production. But jewelry के अलावा, ornament jewelry के अलावा, there is one more topic. It's not architecture, but then since I think we have mentioned in the ancient part, एक बार फिर से वापस से we are discussing that they were also aware of the cosmetics, ठीक है? And they were using different type of the cosmetics. So in cosmetics, what all things were there? Lipstick, So they were using lipstick, they were using soap, they were using kajal, okay? Even sindoor was also known to them, okay? So these all things were also used. So lipstick, soap, kajal and sindoor. As far as the three of the things are concerned, ये kajal को छोड़ के rest of the three things were derived from or created from one of the ore of the mercury, that is cinnabar. ठीक है? So cinnabar. And I think I also mentioned in the class वो इसके अलावा tincture. You remember? So tincture was also used by them. And what is the purpose of the tincture? Obviously to clean the wounds and the heal the wounds. So लिखो, mention, you right? Indus Valley people had a great fashion sense. Indus Valley people had a great fashion sense, and they used variety of ornaments. They used variety of ornaments like, so the list you mentioned: necklace, pendants, rings, earrings, waistband and bangles. What is waistband? हाँ, कमरबंद, ठीक है. So waistband and bangles. Then mention. These ornaments were mainly created with semi-precious stones. Were mainly created with semi-precious stones like, so mention these all: amethyst, jade, jasper, add करो, jade, jasper, carnelian, lapis lazuli and colored marbles. Lapis lazuli and colored marbles. Then mention. Some instances of gold, silver and bronze jewelry was also found. Bronze jewelry was also found. Then mention. Add कर लो यहीं पे. Paragraph change करो, mention. They also used variety of the cosmetics. Like lipstick, kajal, sindoor and soap. Then उसके बाद लिखो, mention. They also used tincture. They also used tincture for cleaning and healing. Tincture for cleaning and healing the wounds. Then, so this is what is about the jewelry, cosmetic and these all part. Then, so cosmetic already we have discussed in the classes थोड़ी बहुत detail में, and chemical compositions also we wrote at that time. You remember what were the chemical composition of sindoor and tincture? So दोनों mercury से derived है, and one is HgCl2, one is Hg2Cl2. So let's come to the important part of the Indus Valley, on the basis of which we call it the most advanced, one of the most advanced. So write town planning of Indus Valley civilization. Town planning. So as we discussed a little bit that what was there in the town planning, but then once again, so there were two parts of the town, okay, and these two parts were upper town and the lower town. Okay, so lower town used to be little bigger, then quite bigger, and upper town used to be little smaller. So less number of the buildings would be there in the upper town and more would be there in the lower town. Okay, so how the depiction used to be there? So general pattern I'm creating, that upper and lower town, a symbolic figure. Then on both the sides of the this particular part, that these are the different sectors which we are creating, and road hai beech mein. Then on both the sides of the road we'll find the drains also. Okay, so have I created this kind of images in the, नहीं ना, तो यहाँ पे you also create, मुझे बस 2 मिनट दे दो. There are few more images in this particular part. Fine. So as far as the upper town is concerned, upper town was created on, as the name suggests, upraised platform. Okay, so it was created on upraised platform, and then there are many substructures within upper town. Then, so for example, there is a one structure. Just give me 1 minute. It's not working. Okay. Fine. Then this is common bath I have created. इसी में हो जाएगा सब कुछ. And then so granary, symbolic one, you also create, and फिर labeling कर लेंगे. So this is granary, and administrative buildings would be there. So mention what all things are there in this one. तो इसको लिखो appraised platform यहाँ पे, appraised platform, and this part is the town itself. Then town is called as, the upper town is called as citadel. कुछ books में this is referred as acropolis. Acropolis. Write both the names. Then this you mention as common bath. This one as granary. This is lower town. These are sectors, roads, drains, covered drains, and inside the different sectors there are houses. So we have come across the instances of the single story house also, double story house also, and even triple story house also. So symbolic way में बना लो that double story and even triple story houses. It's just a, so these type of houses were there. There is one more diagram, but then first you complete this part and then I'll go into the next diagram. not visible. हो गया? So I'm not erasing it, but I'm going into the discussion of this part. Done. So upper part of the town, this area was generally fortified. Okay, fortified, you understand? The walls were there outside it. Okay, sometimes in some of the lower towns also walls were there, but not in all of them. Okay, so upraised platform. Okay, so upraised platform, it was created in such a way that from here the entire lower town would be visible. Okay, so but the positioning was like this, that entire lower town would be visible. And moreover, the type of the buildings that we see in this particular part, they were different from this part. It all seemed that they are administrative building, not the residential ones. Okay, so in this part of the town, administrative buildings were there, residential ones were not there. Okay, and moreover, when it comes to, okay, so when it comes to the other structures which were there in this part of the town, as we mentioned, granaries were there, and so as the this particular common bath, provision of the common bath. But let's talk about the granary first, that what is granary. So granary is the storage for the grains, okay? And these granaries were created in a scientific pattern. So what is this scientific pattern that we are mentioning? So basically what was that if you all know that if you store the grain, okay? So in the storage of the grain, if there is no passage for the air, और एयर एक्सचेंज के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है, then what will happen? The grains will be spoiled because it is a perishable material. Then, and perishable material needs regular exchange of the air or gases. Then, now I hope all of you must be understanding that every grain, ठीक है, जहां से भी लेके आओ, दुकान से खरीद के लाओ या खेत से उठा के लाओ, it has a moisture. ठीक है? So it has a moisture, and moisture is the one which is the big problem. So many of you must have seen that those who are from the rural areas, they have seen that when the crops are cut, so directly transported to it is taken to the top floor of the house and then it is dried. This drying process is important because they need to remove the moisture from it as much as it can, as much as the thing can be done. But after it is stored. So पहले क्या होता था कि स्टोरेज वाज डन इन द गनी बैग्स, ठीक है, जूट बैग्स, ठीक है. तो जूट बैग्स में ऑटोमेटिकली एक उसमें पोर्स हैं जिसके थ्रू ऑटोमेटिकली द मॉइस्चर विल बी एक्सचेंज, ठीक है. तो द ग्रेन्स विल नॉट बी गेटिंग स्पॉइल्ड इजीली. And then those were also the time that people were creating the wooden boxes and thatched boxes, thatched houses in which the grains were stored. So लोगों को लगता है कि thatched houses में grains जल्दी खराब होंगे. That was actually not done. So in the thatched, I hope some of you must have seen, particularly in eastern UP, Bihar, this was very common. ठीक है? Particularly in the Bihar, it was very common. So it was one of the good way of storing the grains. क्योंकि सब चीज होता था, exchange होता था. But then nowadays many other things have come up. We'll discuss about this. So in this also, in this valley also, whenever they were creating the granaries. So there were at a strategic places there were the pores, and with these pores the gases were exchanged. So now understand, whenever the moisture rises from the grains, okay, and air passage is not there, no exchange is there, so then it leads to the anaerobic fermentation. I hope you know. Okay, this word you know. So anaerobic fermentation, which leads to the green color rust in the grains. देखा भी होगा, ठीक है? So green color rust, and then it all becomes poison. So this is how that they were aware about it and they made a provision of it. And nowadays what we do, हम आजकल में क्या करते हैं to stop that spoilage of the grains? पैसेजेस बनाते हैं, ठीक है, बट देन नॉट ऑल द टाइम. स्टील बॉक्सेस आर देयर इन द हाउसेस, ठीक है, सबके घर पे होगा स्टील बॉक्सेस आर देयर इन द हाउसेस, ठीक है, एंड बड़े बड़े स्टील बॉक्सेस आर देयर. सो देन इट्स इश्यू, ठीक है, इट्स इश्यू. एंड टू प्रिवेंट इट, ठीक है, फ्रॉम गेटिंग स्पॉइल्ड, व्हाट वी डू, वी पुट सल्फास इन इट. सो वो सल्फास जो लोग प्यार में खा के मर जाते हैं, ठीक है, सो वही वाला. So that is required for the grains then, but then it is used in that, and that is very harmful, as you know, that it is very harmful. So obviously that putting insecticide inside it, obviously it doesn't augurs well. तो वहां तो जो खत्म होता है कुछ और भी खत्म होता है. So now it was created on a scientific pattern. Then what about the common bath? So common bath, सबसे अच्छा example है common bath का, the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, ठीक है, and it is one of the biggest common bath which have been found from the Indus town. So what is this? It is for the purpose of the ritual bathing. कोई celebration है, कोई festival है, ठीक है. So at that point of time, the ritual bathing will happen over here. But then the question which was asked about the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro in prelims paper was related to that, which all the statements are correct related to Mohenjo-daro Great Bath. So statement था that stairs were created, ठीक है, ध्यान से सुनना, that stairs were created in east and west direction, and other statement was the stairs were created in north and south direction. So, and another statement was the stairs were created with the stone, and stairs were created with the burnt brick. So two statements are right, and as you can see that stairs were created in which direction? North and south, ठीक है. So north and south. And एक और चीज ध्यान रखना, that in Indus Valley civilization almost everything was created from the burnt brick, सिर्फ एक जगह, ठीक है, and that is the this drains, they were covered with not only the stone slabs but also the brick slab. So the only place we get some sort of usage of the stone, that is the coverage of the drains. उसके अलावा all the places it was burnt brick which was used, ठीक है. So this is about the upper town. Let's come to the lower town. So lower town was the big part of the urban, Indus cities, and moreover they were divided into many sectors. अब हमने थोड़ा सा straightforward division बना दिया, but division could be like little bit like this also. Just give me 1 minute. Then, so for example, that एक sector ऐसे है, तो हो सकता है दूसरा sector यहाँ तक चला गया हो, but then third sector might be smaller, ठीक है. But then the pattern was like this. Then, and moreover, जो roads होंगे, road का pattern would be like this only, ठीक है. So roads would be cutting each other at right angle. So that's how it was there. Then, so roads were, as we can see, that there was very good network of the road in the lower town, and roads were cutting each other at right angle, that is 90 degree. Then, moreover, that both the sides of the road covered drains were created. But इसमें एक और चीज है that we need to know. So these covered drains, there is another diagram that we need to see. So there was a regular provision of the cesspits or sumps in these drains, ठीक है. So at a regular interval, cesspits or sumps were created. And what is cesspit or sump? Just understand. We call it cesspits या फिर sumps. So this is a deeper portion in the drains, ठीक है. So deeper portion in the drains, and moreover these cesspits are coated with gypsum. Coated with gypsum. अब purpose क्या है? At a regular interval, a deeper portion would be there in the drain, and this area or this portion is coated with the gypsum. So it is exactly similar to what you see today and what we call today manholes. Have you seen? नहीं देखा है? क्लास के बाद जाना ये रोड पे you can see n number the gold dabbas in this old Rajendra Nagar road. Have you seen that? So that is the cesspit, that is the sump, that is the manhole, okay. So here manholes they created. Then, and what is the purpose of the manhole? Cleaning of the drain, ठीक है. So cleaning of the drain, कहीं भी और कोई obstacle create नहीं हो. So in the flow of the water. Then, so if some impurities or solid impurities are there, so that will go down into it, ठीक है, and then water flow would be there. So water flow would not be obstructed, and at the same point of time, after some point of time, they will be cleaning it. Then, so they they were cleaning it with the pulleys. Okay, so pulley which were created, and then they were cleaning it with it. Moreover, what is the purpose of the gypsum? So purpose of the gypsum acts as a filter. Okay, so it acts as a filter. So whatever wastewater which is going over there, it is recharging the ground also after filtering the water. Then, in fact, gypsum till very recently it was used as a filter. So till very recently, मतलब आज से 15-20 साल पहले. So you must have seen that in each and every household of India there was a steel boxes. Once again, steel boxes. एक डब्बा के ऊपर दूसरा, and उसके बीच में एक candle. Have you seen it? Water filters ऐसे ही आते थे. एक candle होता था, and that candle was a gypsum candle. Then, so that was meant for the water filtration. तुम लोग पैदा हुए हो आरओ के जमाने में, ठीक है? But then, हाँ, क्लीन ही होता था वही. So 3 होता था, 3 डब्बे होते थे. तुम्हारे घर में एडवांस वाला था, उसका ऐड हेमा मालिनी करती थी. अच्छा, 3 कैंडल्स होते थे. ओके, मुझे लगा कि 3 डब्बे होते थे. So anyways, so you have seen it, ठीक है? So the point is कि वो कैंडल क्या होता था? कैंडल जिप्सम होता था, ठीक है? And what is gypsum? CaCSO4, ठीक है? So SO4 and anhydrous or hydrous? हाइड्रस, कैल्शियम सल्फेट हाइड्रस, ठीक है? एंड अगर जो हाइड्रस हटा दे तो इट विल बी gypsum will become plaster of Paris. Good, very good. ठीक है? So now this is what was used inside it, and you can see that the know-how of the people of the Indus Valley was very high. ठीक है? And at the same point of time, highly hygienic society. Then, so in fact, the first Swachh Bharat was here. I'll tell you one question actually later on. जो पूछा था एग्जाम में, I think 2014 or 15 when the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was asked and related to the Indus Valley civilization. ठीक है? So inputs that it will be providing to the contemporary times, and one of the input is obviously the hygiene. ठीक है? That how it is to be maintained. Learn from the Indus Valley. So we'll talk about that question. Time आने दो. So now this is how the things were spanned in the Indus Valley. Then अब sectors के अंदर आते हैं. So inside the different sectors, houses were created, and houses, single story, double story, and even triple story houses were created. So this itself is an indicative that income inequality might be there in Indus Valley, but discrimination on the basis of the income was not there then, because all the type of the houses are in the vicinity. Then apart from it, another thing that I think, I don't know I have mentioned or not, in that particular class, that if you look into the houses, so which are rich houses, so suppose that this house has a private well. Not all the houses were having the private well. Some of the houses were having private well. But those houses which had the private well, so they were not creating the wall from the outside. अंदर की तरफ से वॉल बना दिया, ठीक है, लेकिन बाहर की तरफ से वॉल नहीं बनाते थे. The reason being that if anybody is in the need of the water, they can fetch it, ठीक है, without entering into the house of that particular person. Right? So private wells were there, but it was not very private. So it itself is indicative that there was a cooperation and coordination in the society. Then apart from it, when we look at these houses, so ये तो main road है, we can say that this is the main road, and then these would be the lanes in which houses are created. So houses के main gate, ठीक है, their main gates were not created facing main road. So their gates, जैसे main gate यहाँ पे इस side में नहीं होगा. Main gates they were creating on this side, this way. So they were facing in the lanes. So what is the reason? So हाँ, privacy, ठीक है? So perhaps they wanted to safeguard their privacy. A question can be asked that why? That main gate है, तो उस पे gate पे तो दरवाजा होगा. So there was no darwaja actually. So doors were not there, and that's how they need to safeguard their privacy. So that's how it was created in the internal side. Then घर के अंदर stairs थे या नहीं? Stairs were there or not? Stairs were? Yes or no? Yes. चलो intelligent हो, कुछ लोग no भी कह रहे हैं. So so obviously if there would be no stairs, so how come one will be going to the third floor? Then हाँ, वो नीचे से 2 लोग उठा के फेंकते होंगे. So so stairs were there. एक और speciality थी in Indus Valley, that particularly houses, the first ground floor house, ground floor level, ठीक है, They were not creating the windows in the ground floor. Okay? If at all it is created, so it is created very on the very top level. Okay? This is also related to the privacy. Second floor, third floor pe windows hote the, but then ground floor generally it was not there. Okay? So this is all related to privacy. Then moreover, each of the house has provision of the kitchen, bedroom, and washrooms, and that kitchen and then washroom was very well connected with the main drain. That so mention. Now you write. Generally, Indus towns. Generally, Indus towns were divided into. Indus towns were divided into two layers, that is upper town and lower town. Upper town and lower town. Then पहले upper town का description लिखते हैं. So mention. Upper town was fortified area. Upper town was fortified area created on an upraised platform. Created on an upraised platform. Then mention. It was popularly known as citadel or acropolis. Popularly known as citadel or acropolis. Then mention. In this part of the town, administrative buildings were created. In this part of the town, administrative buildings were created. And it also had provision of granary and common bath. Granary and common bath. Then mention. Granaries were created for the storage of grains. Granaries were created for the storage of grains and in a scientific manner. Scientific manner. Full stop. Then you write. Common bath was meant for ritual bathing. Common bath was meant for ritual bathing. The best example is Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. The best example is the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. Then mention Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, full stop. In this, stairs were created. In this, meaning we are talking about the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. So in this, stairs were created in north and south direction. And stairs were made from burnt brick. Then the water tank was leak proof. The water tank leak proof as it was plastered with charcoal. As it was plastered with charcoal. So नीचे का जो floor था water tank का, it was all plastered with the charcoal, and that's how the leakage of the water was not happening. ठीक है. इसके अलावा you can ask that were they using any cementing agent? So the answer is yes. Then, and what was the cementing agent? Gypsum. ठीक है. So gypsum in the houses also, in the water tank also, everywhere it was used as a cementing agent. So लिख लो. Gypsum was used as cementing agent. Gypsum was used as cementing agent. Done. So now paragraph change karo and then you mention about the lower town. Lower town में लिखो mention. This area was meant for habitation of the commoners. Commoner का मतलब सभी लोग, everyone. ठीक है. Habitation of the commoners. Then mention. It was divided into many sectors. It was divided into many sectors. And there was very good network of the roads. And there was very good network of the roads. Moreover, roads used to cut each other. Moreover, roads used to cut each other at right angle. At right angle. Full stop. On both the sides of the road. On both the sides of the road, drains were created. Drains were created, and they were covered with stone slab or brick slab. They were covered with stone slab or brick slab. Then, have you made this second figure? ठीक है, cesspit or sums. So लिखो इसमें. Inside in the drains, not inside. In the drains, at a regular interval. In the drains, at a regular interval, cesspits or sumps were created. Cesspits or sumps were created. For regular cleaning of the drains. Regular cleaning of the drains. Moreover, these sumps were coated with gypsum. Which filtered waste water. And discharged filtered water into ground. Filtered water into ground. Then, so that's about the drains part. Then let's come to the houses part. Okay, mention. Inside the sectors, there were instances of single story, double story, and even triple story houses. Single, double, triple story houses. Full stop. Then mention. All the houses were created with the burnt brick. All the houses were created with the burnt brick of same shape and size. Shape and size in the ratio of 4:2:1. 4:2:1. Length, width and height, okay, of the brick. Then mention generally the main gates of the houses were not facing the main road. Full stop. Perhaps it was meant for safeguarding their privacy. Then next you mention after it, meant for safeguarding their privacy. Full stop. Then each of the house had a separate bedroom. Each of the house has had a separate bedroom, kitchen and washrooms. Full stop. Some of the houses had their private wells. Okay. Then mention all the houses were connected with main drain. Then so this is what is about the description of the both the parts of the town, but there are exceptions. And in what regard? Town planning regards. Okay. So town planning हमने क्या लिखा beginning में, that generally it was divided into 2 layers. But then there are exceptions also where we have seen that towns are divided into 3 layers also. One exception is there, and that exception is the Dholavira. Okay. So Dholavira, how many divisions are there? 3 divisions are there. So there is a middle town also in the Dholavira. So एक note करके लिखो. In note you write town of Dholavira is an exception to the general planning. Town of Dholavira is an exception to the general planning of Indus Valley. It was divided into 3 layers. That is upper town, middle town, and the bigger lower town. Moreover, Dholavira was closer to a water body. So the shape of the town looks like this only, that here there is a water body, and water body में यहाँ पे upper town, this is middle town, and this is the lower town. So now upper town, lower town तो हमने mention किया that what is the purpose of these towns. So upper town was administrative area, lower town was habitation. What is about middle town in this one? So it was a garrison town. ठीक है? Garrison town, meaning that guards of the Dholavira, they used to stay in the middle part of the town. Then, so now we are done with this particular part of the Indus Valley. Now we'll go to rather important part from where we have seen Indus Valley से भी बहुत questions आते हैं, particularly in prelims there are plenty, a good number of the question, and you must be mastering the sites also. Sites से भी काफी सारे questions we have seen in the recent past. Done. So let's come to the next part, which is Maurya Age art. So before going into the Maurya Age art, just 5 minute का एक discussion. The question which was asked in the mains paper way back, आज से 8-9 साल पहले, and the question was that how Indus Valley civilization, ठीक है, that provides input to the contemporary urban planning, ठीक है. So how the culture and architecture of the Indus Valley provides input to the, ठीक है, the contemporary urban landscape, ठीक है. So now how it is providing any such input? So obviously that there is this one city, Chandigarh. It's the first example. So after the India's independence, when Chandigarh was created, it was planned by a French architect, Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier, he took inspiration from the design of the Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, these all Indus towns, and accordingly the Chandigarh city was planned. So sectoral planning happened in the Chandigarh, and then on both the sides of the road there is a, okay, this particular drains are there. In fact, like the Indus Valley, self-sufficiency concept was also incorporated in Chandigarh. What is this self-sufficiency concept? That in Indus Valley you have seen single story house, double story house, triple story house, in which we said that ki discrimination nahi hai society mein. Inequality to hai, but discrimination is not there. But at the same point of time, it also indicates that there is a cooperation between the people and all of them are not involved in the same profession. So people have this understanding that we have need of the people of the other profession also. Similarly, the Chandigarh model started and now it has been replicated in almost all the cities of India. And what is that? So governmental planning was 3 type of the houses, okay, and that's called as LIG flats, MIG flat, HIG flat, okay, lower income group houses, middle income group houses, and higher income group houses. So all the type of the houses used to be there in the one sector. Then in Chandigarh you also find community centers, okay. So हर एक कुछ सेक्टर्स के बीच में there would be a community center where everything is available. Now community center was replicated even in Delhi also later on, ठीक है, सभी cities में लगभग it has been replicated. Then apart from it, Chandigarh, it was made sure that closer to the 3-4 sectors at least one school, one hospital must be there. So these all are self-sufficiency concepts. Then so these all were inspired from the Indus Valley civilization, and almost all the new cities of India, they are planned according to it. Okay? So that is one inspiration. But then there are other things also. Okay? That if we talk about the what all inputs it can give, so inputs कुछ जगह दे भी सकते हैं, कुछ जगह नहीं भी दे सकते हैं. ठीक है? So for example, that when we talk about the inputs in the Swachh Bharat, so obviously it can give the input. ठीक है? That the way the hygiene was maintained in the Indus Valley itself is an inspiration. But then there are the other problems. If this question, इस question में अगर जो ये add कर दे critically analyze, so then you will have to provide the instances, ठीक है, जहाँ पे Indus Valley से कोई solution नहीं मिल सकता, ठीक है, to the modern urban space. So if we add this word critically analyze, ठीक है, so there are some places where it is providing the input, but there are few places where it cannot provide the input, ठीक है. The reason is that the civilization was way back, ठीक है, आज से कम 5000 साल पहले, and moreover the problems, the living standards, ठीक है, and the way of living of the people was totally different the way we live in the today's society. So one of the very important thing that we cannot get any understanding from the Indus Valley, that is the urban drainage itself, and this question has been asked 2-3 times in the prelims paper, mains paper, ठीक है. So urban drainage problem. So urban drainage problem, can Indus Valley provide any solution? No. Little bit sums and manholes are inspired from it, okay? But then even that is not the foolproof solution. Why so? Because the problems of the modern world in which we are living, it's very different. The problem is the plastic, okay? So problem is the plastic, problem is this bottle. मैंने तो पी के खत्म कर दिया, but मुझे नहीं पता कि कहाँ it will go, ठीक है? So I'm expecting that it will go into the landfills of Delhi, ठीक है? But then from landfills of Delhi, what is the weight of this particular bottle? एक दिन अच्छे से हवा चली और फिर उसके बाद then ये कहाँ land up हुआ किसी को नहीं पता. And then it lands up basically in the drains. Then the biscuit packet, that chips packet, everything that you are eating, where it lands up? Majority of them are in the drains itself. Okay, so when they are landing up in the drains, so obviously the clogging of the drains would be happen, and because of it, urban drainage is a problem. एक दिन बारिश हो जाए, अभी हुई थी ना February first week में, ये जो चौराहा है अपना ये दरिया बन जाता है, ठीक है? So this is problem of the urban drainage. Then, and in fact, almost all the cities of India, they face this particular urban drainage problem. Even the cities which are closer to the sea, वहां पे भी ये problem है. So the reason is the plastic that we have used in a number of way. तो इसका solution तो Indus Valley नहीं दे सकता, because they were not using the plastics then. So what is the solution of it? ठीक है, सभी को पता है. See, this kind of questions are asked in the exam, very generic one, and we actually fluster in these type of question. So इसमें generic ही आंसर लिखना होता है. रोज सुबह नींद कैसी टूटती है? स्वच्छ भारत का इरादा कर लिया हमने, ठीक है? So you just listen to that vehicle which is passing through your house, and then what they say, ठीक है? गीला कूड़ा नीले डब्बे में और नॉर्मल कूड़ा हरे डब्बे में. What is this? Solid waste management, ठीक है? So solid waste management, that is the segregation of the waste. Then, so when the segregation of the waste is happening, so then the segregated waste will go into the landfill. कौन से landfill पे? या तो बदरपुर border पे या फिर गाजीपुर. दिल्ली के केस में बात कर रहे हैं. So it will go into the landfill, and then the processes are there where the machines are there, which will be kind of that they will be inserting it or kind of that flattening it, ठीक है? So that it must not lands up in the any of the drains. So whatever be, solid waste management is the solution right now, and the attitudinal change is the solution at this point of time. कि भले solid waste management हो रहा हो, हम खुद ही नहीं घर पे separate करते हैं, so how come it will be there? So that is how the problem can be solved, not with the Indus Valley civilization. Another problem that we cannot solve from input from the Indus Valley. So what is the problem? The traffic problem of the Indian cities. ठीक है? So traffic solution cannot be there from the Indus Valley. Obviously that those were not the days that transportation and traffic was too much there on the road. It was a very comfortable thing. But now in that rapid urban development, we have n number of the vehicles and the things on the road, plying on the road. एक घर में, ठीक है, हर आदमी पे एक गाड़ी, ठीक है? And in old Rajendra Nagar, सारी गाड़ी road पे, ठीक है? Obviously, ठीक है? So you just go into the, and you must have witnessed then that हर जगह चारों तरफ से गाड़ी, रोड ना होके ये parking lot हो चुका है. So the problem of the urban traffic, how it can be managed. So for at that point of time, it could that answer that you could have written when it was asked in the mains exam, that smart cities, ठीक है? Smart cities में क्या है? That usage of the technology to manage the problem of the traffic, ठीक है? So usage of the technology, GPS, GLONASS, whatever that could be there, ठीक है? So technology, and then smart grids, ठीक है? Then smart lightings. So these all would be the solution. And then also one answer would have been that roadways minister like Nitin Gadkari, ठीक है? So obviously he has changed the scenario. I don't know that you agree with me or no. You have the right not to agree, but I feel that he has changed a lot. Then, and see that people, when they are protesting against the penalties, they must know that the same people, if they are fined in any of the countries in the Western world or the Middle East, they don't have the problem. कोई option ही नहीं है. I'll tell you that particularly in the Middle East, ठीक है, once you, ठीक है, that do any traffic violation, so your driving license is impounded for 12 years. कोई उसमें सुनवाई नहीं है, 12 years you cannot drive. Then, and if second time if you have been found driving, so then the punishment is around 15 years jail. So very strict punishment is there. यहाँ तो हमने सिर्फ फाइन्स बढ़ाए हैं, ठीक है? तो obviously that हमारे यहाँ लोग मानते नहीं हैं. So he has changed it. So these solutions are required, and mindset is also one very important part. So this question was asked when Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was there. So what is Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? It is all attitudinal change. ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ और चेंज है. It is all attitudinal change. So that was to be incorporated in that question. So why I am discussing this question, कि बहुत बार क्या होता है कि क्वेश्चन का आंसर तुम ढूंढते हो कि क्लास में क्या पढ़ा है, ठीक है? और किताबों में क्या लिखा है. क्वेश्चन का आंसर तुम्हारे सामने होता है इन योर ऑब्जर्वेशन. So you can always write an answer in the culture questions, and most of the time it is a mix of the what is happening right now and then little bit of the static part. ठीक है. So इस बात के लिए तैयार रहना कि कुछ भी गवर्नमेंट का एक बार नजर घुमाओ, आंख बंद करो, नजर घुमाओ, that which all policies of government are bit connected to it, ऑटोमेटिकली तुम्हारा दिमाग सजेशन देगा, दिस कैन बी रिटन इन द आंसर. देन सो लेट्स कम टू द मौर्य एज. सो मौर्य एज आर्ट. अब इसमें so in Maurya age art what all things we are going to study. So obviously architecture है तो architecture की बात करेंगे. So in architecture we'll start with the caves of the Maurya period, then we'll go into the pillars, then we'll go into the stupa, their sculpture and their pottery. But before that we need to have a discussion on one particular part, that is the Shramana tradition. So it's not related, it did not started during the Maurya age, but connection है Maurya age से. So write a title Shramana tradition. ये आर्किटेक्चर नहीं है, दिस इज अ ट्रेडिशन विच आई नीड टू टॉक अबाउट. सो इट इज डिराइव्ड फ्रॉम दैट इट इज अ संस्कृत वर्ड श्रमणा, एंड द मीनिंग ऑफ श्रमणा दैट स्ट्राइविंग फॉर एनलाइटनमेंट. स्ट्राइविंग फॉर एनलाइटनमेंट. Striving for enlightenment. So now listen, that in the rear end of the Vedic age, ध्यान से समझना, rear end meaning later Vedic period and around 7th century BC. Okay, so this is around 7th century BC that a new movement started in the society, and this movement is called as the Shramana movement or Shramana tradition. So what was this Shraman movement or Shraman tradition? It was against the discriminatory practices of the Vedic society. So what was the good in the early Vedic society started to deteriorate in the later Vedic society. So we have seen in the classes itself that there was a deterioration in the position of the women, okay? That their political rights are no more done. So slowly the deterioration in the position of the women. Then apart from it, there is an emergence of the casteism and untouchability by this point of time. And in the Vedic sacrifice, the Vedic rituals, there was hell lot of sacrifices. Then there was the dominance of the priestly class in the Vedic rituals. So this movement was against all these discriminatory practices. Okay? And as it is said that this movement is the one which has given rise to some of the major religions of that time. And these are Buddhism and Jainism. Okay? Moreover, Ajivika is also considered as the byproduct of the Shramana movement. Then, so these three are considered to be the branches of the Shramana movement. Then, moreover, why we are discussing Shramana movement over here, ancient पे नहीं discuss किया था, because here Shramana movement has a linkage with the architecture also. So it is the Mauryas who patronized all the branches of the Shramana. उन्होंने Buddhism को भी patronize किया, Jainism को भी, and then they also patronized Ajivika. ठीक है? So, and in this patronization, they have created architectural things related to these three branches of the Shramana. ठीक है? So those architectural things, caves dedicated to Ajivikas, then apart from it, sculptures dedicated to Buddhism, stupa dedicated to Buddhism, and so as the pillars and the inscriptions dedicated to the Buddhism. Okay? And there were the Jain literature patronization happened because of them also. So all the three religions were patronized by them, which were the byproducts of the Shramana. So एक बार लिखो, mention. It is a Sanskrit word which means striving for enlightenment. Striving for enlightenment. Mention. In the rear end of later Vedic period, progressive section of the society initiated Shramana movement. Then mention. Initiated Shramana movement, full stop. It was against it was against the discriminatory practices of Vedic society, like dominance of priestly class, complex Vedic rituals, indiscriminate animal sacrifice, deteriorating position of women, comma, Varna system, and emergence of untouchability, ठीक है. So these are the things then mentioned. In the 6th century BC, Shramana movement gave rise to three progressive religions of that time, that is Jainism, Buddhism and Ajivika. Then mention. Now once again you change the paragraph and then you write. Mention. Mauryas patronized all the three branches of Shramana. And also constructed the related architecture. And sculpture. Then, so Shramana bhi dekh liya, and then connection established. So let's start with the initial part, and first one. So mention Mauryan caves. Very first title. So listen. As far as the Mauryan caves are concerned, they are the first example of the man-made cave in Indian subcontinent. Natural caves are already there, obviously. Natural cave existing from the time immemorial, which includes the example of the Bhimbetka, Narsingarh, Mirzapur caves. But then man-made cave, it is believed that Ashoka's caves were the initial one. Okay? So that is one part. Moreover, these caves, okay, as far as the structure is concerned, so they were decorated, highly decorated from outside, and so as the polished from inside. So if we look at these caves, so there used to be a semicircular facade at the part of the entrance. So these semicircular facades used to look like this. And moreover, there used to be a decoration on this semicircular facade, but apart from it, इसमें रेटिकुलर पैनल भी बने होते थे. ठीक है. सो दे यूज टू क्रिएट अ रेटिकुलर पैनल ऑल्सो. एंड व्हाट इज रेटिकुलर पैनल? जालीदार पैनल. ठीक है. सो जाली, आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड. सो जालीज आर क्रिएटेड, एंड देन ऑन दीज जालीज, ठीक है, सो व्हाट दे डिड दैट दे क्रिएटेड beautiful sculptures of the elephants. Then, so in this beautiful sculptures in the middle, the beautiful sculptures of the elephants are also created. Okay? So moving in one direction. So this is one part, and the entrance used to be like this, and there used to be decoration on these sides also. Okay, so this was the general scheme of the entrance of the Mauryan caves. We have the images, we'll see the images later on. So general scheme of the Mauryan caves. So बाहर से देखने में अच्छा, inside it was highly polished. ठीक है, so highly polished. And moreover, where these caves were created, so not at many locations, but particularly in Bihar and Odisha. So in Bihar part, where it was created, so now the name of the district has changed. Earlier there used to be this district of the that Gaya, okay, but now Gaya comes under the नया जिला बन गया है जहानाबाद. ठीक है, so in the district of the Jahanabad, there are two hill ranges, then Nagarjuni and any idea? Barabar. Nagarjuni and Barabar hills. So these are the names of the hill. Then, so Barabar hill. So in Barabar hill, the most famous cave is in Barabar hill, and the name of the cave is the Lomas Rishi cave. Lomas Rishi cave. And in this one, Nagarjuni mein, there is a very famous Sudama cave. Then, so these were the caves which were created in this particular design. Apart from it, in Odisha also the caves were created, and it was created at the place of Dhauli. Okay? So area of Dhauli in Odisha. So mention karo isko ek baar. Mauryan caves were perhaps the first man-made cave of India. Mauryan caves were perhaps the first man-made caves of India. And it was mainly created by Akbar, so not Akbar, sorry, Ashoka, mainly created by Ashoka and his grandson Dasarath. Mainly created by Ashoka and his grandson Dasarath. Then mention further after it. The caves had a very beautiful entrance. The caves had a very beautiful entrance with a semicircular facade. With a semicircular facade. मैं वेट कर रहा हूं क्या लिख रहे हो तुम लोग. पता है तुम लोगों ने क्या लिखा है कुछ लोगों ने. सो स्पेलिंग ऑफ द फसाड इज दिस. ठीक है, एंड कुछ लोगों ने हिंदी वाला लिख दिया फसाड. सो मार फसाड नहीं लिखना है. ठीक है, मुझे भी यही लगता था. इन द बिगिनिंग आई यूज्ड टू फील दैट कि हाउ कम दिस प्रोनाउंसिएशन वुड बी फसाड. बहुत टाइम लगा मुझे एक्सेप्ट करने में दैट दिस इज द फसाड. बट एनीवे मेंशन. सी राइट, reticular panels were created on the entrance. Reticular panels were created on the entrance with the images of elephants. With the images of elephants. Full stop. From inside, full stop के बाद लिखो. From inside, these caves were highly polished. From inside, these caves were highly polished. Highly polished. ठीक है, फिर आगे लिखो highly polished. So one more line you write. ठीक है, these caves were mainly meant for resting places for Ajivika monk. Resting places for Ajivika monk. Resting places for Ajivika monk. Examples you write. So first example you mention Lomas Rishi cave. Lomas Rishi cave. Barabar hill. Jahanabad district of Bihar. And second, you write Sudama caves. Sudama caves. Nagarjuni hill, the same area. So Jahanabad, Nagarjuni hill, and Nagarjuni mein there is one more cave which is called as Karan Chopper. Okay, so Karan Chopad cave, it's also in Nagarjuni. Then, so these are these three in Bihar, and the one which is in Odisha. So mention Dhauli cave of Odisha. Dhauli cave of Odisha. And there is one more thing at a Dhauli cave. So though the cave is not surviving, abhi to khatam ho chuka hai, but then there is one thing which is surviving in the Dhauli, that one rock cut elephant sculpture. A rock cut. So half image. Okay. So half image of a rock cut elephant. So mention, likho yahan pe. At the site of Dhauli, a half cut elephant sculpture. A half cut elephant sculpture was created. Half cut elephant sculpture was created at the time of Ashoka. Done. So this is what is about the Mauryan caves part. Let's go into the pillars. So Mauryan pillars you mentioned as a title. So Mauryan pillars. Acha, have we written about the inscriptions of the Ashoka? नहीं लिखा था, ठीक है. So chalo, we'll do that exercise in the last part. Okay? See, not everything you need to remember. Inscriptions that we have found. Okay? So there are n number of the inscriptions. Okay? There are 33 major rock inscription, minor rock inscription, pillar inscription. Okay? So there are so many categories, but some of the important ones we need to know. And then apart from it, what is most important is the language and the script in which it was written. I think I mentioned it. Language and script. Okay? So some of the inscriptions also will mention in the end part. Okay? So let's come to the Mauryan pillars. So Mauryan pillars, they were unique thing of that time. Okay? आज के टाइम पे भले pillars unique नहीं लगे, but then they were unique architectural pieces of that time. So Mauryan pillars were monolith in nature, meaning created from single stone. Okay? So they were monolith in nature, and moreover, that Mauryan pillars, they were created in many different parts of the Indian subcontinent. Then, so these pillars were different from one of the contemporary pillar of the Maurya. So just like in India, the Mauryan pillars were created in Iran, Prespolitan area, okay? Or basically Achaemenian kingdom, pillars were also constructed over there. So now, Mauryan pillars were monolith, but Achaemenian pillars were not monolith. Okay? Average height of the Mauryan pillar was around 60 feet, then 60 feet, and then average height of the Achaemenian pillar, it was not more than 25 feet. Okay? So that is how the Mauryan pillars were much more advanced than the contemporary Achaemenian or Iranian pillars. Then, moreover, Mauryan pillars were always installed in the open, okay? But Achaemenian pillars were used inside the buildings. Then, as far as the polishing is concerned, so both had a good polishing, but the carving skill of the Mauryan pillar was much better than the Iranian pillar. Okay? So since they were contemporary, that's why we are mentioning. So एक comparison भी लिखेंगे, and then we'll go into the specific features of the Mauryan pillar. So पहले एक काम करो, let's write about the comparison. कुछ heading नहीं देना है, just write, mention. So Mauryan pillars Mauryan pillars were monolith in nature. Mauryan pillars were monolith in nature. They were created from single stone. Created from single stone. Then mention the average height of Mauryan pillar. The average height of Mauryan pillar was 50 to 60 feet. 50 to 60 feet. And the carving skill was also very high. Then these pillars were installed in the open space. These pillars were installed in the open space. Then paragraph change करो, ठीक है? At this point of time, in the Achaemenian kingdom of Iran, pillars were created. Pillars were also created. But as compared to Mauryan pillar, they were inferior. As compared to Mauryan pillar, they were inferior. Inferior, full stop. Then mention they were not monolith. And compromised in the carver's skill. Moreover, the height of the pillar was also less than half of Mauryan pillars. So this is what is about the comparison. Okay? But then have a look at the Mauryan pillar, that how they look like. What is the general scheme of its creation, and then we'll go into the examples, then the purpose of the pillars. Okay? That different phases of the construction of these pillars. Okay? So let's look at it. So generally when we look at the Mauryan pillar, so there is a long shaft. Okay? And long shaft, not very tapering. Okay? Only at the last part, little bit of taper is there. Then moreover, there would be a bell shape icon in this one. So bell shape icon. Then at the top of it, there would be a part which is called as abacus. But the shape which I am creating, abacus से, necessarily सब जगह पे यही shape नहीं होगा, ठीक है? It's just one type. And then on the top of it, what we see, one such sort of the crowning animal. Then, so create कर लो इस image को. This is what we call crowning animal. Then this part we call as abacus. This is called as bell capital. And this part is shaft. So this is the general representation of the Mauryan pillar. this image, the one which I have created, not the original one. I'm not demeaning the original one, but it seems like the flag of some brass band. So देखो, there are few things which will be changing, and क्या change होता है, particularly these two, ठीक है? So crowning animal from place to place it will change, and the abacus का shape भी change होता है. So generally few places it is circular, but there are square is also very popular. So majority of the places we see the square abacus also, ठीक है? हमने यहाँ पे circular बनाया है, but then some places it is square also. Done? So now let's talk about the purpose. At purpose के बाद then we'll go into the example. ठीक है? So as far as the purpose of the Mauryan pillars are concerned, ठीक है? There are 2-3 parts of it. ठीक है? So 2-3 parts of it that basically when it comes to the purpose before the Kalinga War. Kalinga War happened in 261 BC. That was the 9th year of the ruling of the Ashoka. 269 he has ascended. So before the Kalinga War, the purpose of the Mauryan pillar was that celebrating the victory, okay? Celebrating the victory, and moreover, imperial ceremonies were also served with this particular pillar. So for example, that if the height of the pillar is 60 feet, so obviously it's that good height. And moreover, once it is installed, so people will be that from very far areas, they will be able to look at it then. And itself was an indicative that if the pillar is installed, so it means that there is an instruction for the people that what they need to do, what they do not need to do. Okay? So all the things were mentioned on the side on a rock also and on the pillar also. So inscriptions used to be there on the sides. Then, so for example, suppose that Ashoka has been over new territory and the pillar has been installed over there. So people will go there. They will get to know that how much taxes they will be giving to the Ashokas. Okay? So these all details were mentioned over there. So that is first part. So the first phase of the pillar construction is related to the celebration of the victory and serving the imperial ceremony. But then in 261, when the massacre happened in the Kalinga War, Ashoka was moved by it. He was full of guilt and remorse. And then what he decided, that he will abandon the policy of the Bheri Ghosh with the Dhamma Ghosh. Then, so now the purpose of the pillar became the propagation of the Dhamma. Okay? So propagation of the Dhamma. And what is Dhamma? So moral, ethical code of conduct or doctrines of the Buddhism. Then apart from it, now another purpose was the celebration of the important life events of Buddha. Okay? So celebration of important life events of Buddha, and moreover, not only the celebration, but at the same point of time, giving some sort of relief to the people, the places which were associated with the Buddha's life. Okay? So for example, that Rimindei is one such village where Lumbini comes, Lumbini is the part of it. So in the Rimindei village, okay, he installed a pillar and inscription whereby he has instructed to the people that for many years their taxes, they will be relieved of the taxes. Then, so these all purposes were there after the Ashoka's win over the Kalinga and conversion to the Buddhism. So likho, mention purpose of the pillar. Purpose of the pillar. So first you write before Kalinga War. Before Kalinga War. Mention before Kalinga War. So you write number 1. To commemorate the victory. To commemorate the victory. There would be double M over here. So commemorate the victory. Then, meaning celebrating the victory. Number 2, to serve imperial ceremonies. To serve imperial ceremonies to the people. To serve imperial ceremonies to the people. Then next you write after it, after Kalinga War. After Kalinga War. So number one, after Kalinga War, to propagate Dhamma. To propagate Dhamma. And what is Dhamma? Moral, ethical code of conduct. Moral, ethical code of conduct. And then you mention to celebrate important life events of Buddha. To celebrate important life events of Buddha. Important life events of Buddha. And also to provide relief to the people. Also to provide tax relief to the people. Also to provide tax relief to the people. Done. So now this is the purpose of the pillar, that why they were installed. Done. Now let's look at the examples of the pillar, and in fact in the examples what is important is basically the crowning animal. Okay. So the first example mention Lauria Nandan Gadh pillar. Lauria Nandan Gadh pillar. So this is in Bihar. Okay. Champaran या बेतिया. So Lauria Nandangarh pillar, and moreover this pillar, the crowning animal of this pillar. So this is in Bihar, and crowning animal likho. Crowning animal is a lion. Then, so crowning animal is a lion. Then let's write these all and then we'll understand the meaning of this particular animal. अगर जो बनाया है टॉप पे तो there must be some purpose. ठीक है? So we'll see that. First you write examples and then we'll talk about it. Then you write Rampurva pillar. Rampurva pillar. And Rampurva pillar also from Bihar. And crowning animal is a bull. So yahan a lion and then here a bull. Sankisa pillar. Where? UP. Farrukhabad district of UP. ठीक है? And then crowning animal is an elephant. An elephant. Crowning element was an elephant. Then last example you mention, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion. Sarnath pillar. Sarnath pillar, Varanasi, ठीक है? And crowning animal 4 back-to-back lions. 4 back-to-back lions. Four back-to-back lions in the Sarnath. So first of all, three animals we have mentioned over here: a lion, a bull, and an elephant. Okay. So in Buddhism, there is a hell lot of symbolism with these all images. Okay. So when it comes to the lion, what it is indicative of? Strength, power, kingship. To the okay. So see, this is indicative of the Shakya clan of the Buddha. first of all. ठीक है? So lion is indicative of the Sakya clan of the Buddha. We'll talk about it later on also. And at the same point of time, as you guys said, that it is indicative of the kingship. So Sakya clan itself was a ruling class of India. So kingship. Then what about the bull? Strength, ascendancy. Okay? Bull is the symbol of the ascendancy. What is ascendancy? Progression. Okay? Moving in the upward direction. Okay? So ascendancy. And then what is elephant? Symbol of the, yes? Huge territory. No. So symbol, that elephant is symbol of two things. Okay? There are two ways it is represented. One is that it is a symbol of the peace, and another is the symbol of the birth of the Buddha. Okay? So symbol of the birth of the Buddha. So later on when we'll talk about the Buddhism, so basically we'll see that whenever any event of the Buddha's birth is depicted, so there would be an elephant. Then, so elephant is two things. Then symbol and the peace. Why peace? So why peace? The idea is that it is the strongest animal on the land. Okay? Strongest element on the land, but it leads a peaceful life. Until and unless you pester an elephant, it will not do anything to you. But then if you become a foe of the elephant, so then survival will be difficult. Okay? So it lives a peaceful life despite being the most powerful. So it tells about the calm and composure, even with the high power, that how you must be behaving. So it is indicative of this. Then now let's come to the last one, 4 back-to-back lions. Okay? So what is this 4 back-to-back lions? These are indicative of the Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Okay? So we'll be talking about it later on. What is Dharma Chakra Parivartan? Basically, when Buddha has achieved Nirvana and when he has given his first sermon, so that first sermon is itself is called as Dharma Chakra Parivartan, which also means turning the wheel of the religion. So एक बार लिखो, mention. So note, you write note. So note में mention करो. Lion indicates Shakya clan of Buddha. Shakya clan of Buddha. And the kingship. Then mention bull indicates ascendancy. Bull indicates ascendancy. Elephant peace and power, and it also indicates birth of Buddha. Birth of Buddha. Then, so peace and power and birth of Buddha. Then, Sarnath pillar mein, so we need little bit more discussion in the Sarnath pillar. Why Sarnath pillar is important? Because the national emblem is taken from the Sarnath pillar. So originally when we look at the Sarnath pillar, that image I have created, actually it belonged to the Sarnath pillar itself. Ek baar ruk jao. So there are few things which I want to add in this pillar part. So originally the Sarnath pillar that we have got, then so that pillar had a chakra over here at the top originally, and we'll tell you. So there is this chakra over here also, and then not only 4 back-to-back lines are there, but if you look at the abacus part of Sarnath, then so abacus part of Sarnath has 4 chakra. Okay? So 4 chakra, and at the same point of time, in between all these Dharma Chakra or Ashok Chakra, okay, there is animal. So these animals are BHEL. Then, so what is BHEL? Bull, horse, elephant and lion. Okay? So bhel. So in clockwise direction it is like this. Okay? BHEL. Moreover, that the part, this crowning animal of the Sarnath pillar, it has been taken as the national emblem. Okay? So national emblem iske saath mein with this. Okay? So with this Dharma Chakra and then the upper part. Moreover, the topmost part which I have mentioned over here, so there was a difference in between this chakra and this chakra. So originally when it was found from the Sarnath in 1940s then, so this chakra was little bit attached to it, broken and little bit attached to the pillar then. So it was separated from the pillar and it is kept inside the Sarnath museum. Moreover, the difference is that in this abacus wala chakra, take a dharma chakra, there are 24 spokes. So it has 24 spokes and in the top one 32 spokes. Okay, so 32 spokes. So government has decided that they will not take this into the consideration, only this much part into the consideration for the creation of the national emblem. So एक बार लिखो, Sarnath pillar is indicative of dharma chakra parivartan. Is indicative of dharma chakra parivartan. And in brackets you can mention turning the wheel of religion. Turning the wheel of religion. Wheel of religion. Full stop. Then mention the crowning animal. The crowning animal and the abacus part crowning animal and the abacus part with 24 spoke dharma chakra, with 24 spoke dharma chakra was adopted by Government of India, as national emblem. Adopted by Government of India as national emblem. Done? Then mention national emblem. Mention in the abacus, there are 4 back-to-back chakras. In the abacus, there are 4 back-to-back chakras. And in between them, 4 animals. In between them, 4 animals, that is bull, horse, lion, and elephant. Elephant and lion, bull, horse, elephant and lion is depicted. Then one more line you write, it is not related to the architecture. Here, this place actually related to the national emblem of the Government of India. So national emblem is not complete without one tagline. Okay, motto. And what is the motto? Satyameva Jayate. Okay, and it has been taken from the Mundak Upanishad. So एक बार लिखो that Satyameva Jayate, taken from Mundak Upanishad, Satyameva Jayate, taken from Mundak Upanishad, was adopted as the motto with national emblem. This question has also been asked in the exam. Okay? Was adopted as motto with the national emblem. Okay? So this is what is about the pillars of the Asoka period. We'll see the stupa, and this year question was there from the stupa. Okay? फिर से एक बार दोबारा बता रहा हूँ. See that I'm covering that part from the 2013. Okay? That the question which was asked. And then this year they actually mentioned it in that same question was asked in the paper. Then, so what was the question? The origin of the stupa concept. You can take any such classes of mine, ठीक है, पीछे के जितने भी हो, चाहे दो, I think it is all available. So there clearly we have mentioned, and then very recently people started copying it, ठीक है. So this year अब तो सब copy करेंगे, सब पढ़ाएंगे, ठीक है. So stupa part will do in a very elaborate manner, and कहीं जाना नहीं, ठीक है. So do it in the class. According to me, in the architecture section, it is one of the important topic. So it's been time that last year prelims में stupa पूछा था, and last time it was in 2016 when in mains paper the stupa question was there. तो expect कर सकते हो mains stage पे. I'm not expecting in the prelim stage. ठीक है? चलो. So break के बाद then we'll continue with the stupa. Stupa. Audible? Fine. So let's have a discussion on the concept of the stupa itself from the beginning, and then after the stupa concept we'll go into the Mauryan construction of the stupa. So stupa is a Sanskrit word, and meaning of the word is a heap of sand or mound. Then so it's a Sanskrit word which means heap of sand or mound. And moreover, so how it all started. So stupa construction can be dated back to the Vedic period itself. It's nothing unique to the Maurya period. The uniqueness of the Maurya period was the grandeur of the stupa, but not the concept itself. So concept originally emerged at the time of the Vedic age. So what was that? So Vedic age, as you see that early Vedic, later Vedic, and these all ages, there were n number of the rishis. Then, in fact, it is said that when we talk about the Vedas, so Vedas were the divine revealings which were received by the rishis. Then, so how these rishis are receiving these knowledge of the Vedas with the divine contemplation. Okay? So contemplation, they are meditating, and then they get to know about those divine stuff. So these rishis, they had one attribute that they are meditating for months and months. Okay? So they are meditating for months and months. They can meditate for a month or 2 or 3, whatever that is possible. So when they are meditating, so they do the meditation in the open, and then what happens? So during this process, a heap of sand gets collected over their body. Okay? So heap of sand gets collected over their body and in a particular shape. So those were the time when the rishis are moving out of the meditation, and when they shared their divine knowledge with the people, so people had a very high regard not only for the rishi but also this formation. So whenever the death of the rishis happened, okay, so they all were cremated in the stupa formation. Okay? So after burning the dead body, and then the process of the cremation was in this way. Okay? So one stupa was created. In fact, this practice is one such practice which continues even till this date. Not many of you might be knowing, but in reality, it continues even till this date. Particularly people who are in the rural areas, they know it. Then in the urban landscape, it is kind of that it has changed because of the density which has increased, and moreover, the electric methods of cremation. Then, so electric methods of cremation, and that then not many cremation grounds are there. But in the villages of the India, you will see that when the person is dead, so next day the family members, they will go to the graveyard, okay, and then they will be picking up the remains from the burnt body, and then after there is a process which is called as mitti lagana. Okay, so this mitti lagana is also a stupa formation itself. In a cylindrical form, a stupa is created then on the body. So that tradition continues. Then, so that in fact the mitti lagana word is also used in the Islam, okay? But not the stupa formation. But in fact mitti lagana is there in all the religions. Basically the people give mitti to the dead body, okay? But here what they do, that in Hinduism they create a particular mound on it, okay? And they also plant some sort of trees. So this is the tradition which continues from the Vedic times, and it goes till this point of time. But the changes and the modifications were made during Buddha's time. So now understand, Buddha was also considered as one of the divine person of that time, and moreover he also meditated for the 49 days. In the midnight of the 49th day he achieved nirvana, and after nirvana he has given his first preaching at the Sarnath. Then, so that we calling as a Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Moreover, He led to the foundation of a altogether new theology, which turned into the religion. And moreover, when Buddha's death has happened, so his followers created a bigger stupa on his body. They portrayed that he, out of all the saints and the divine people, he was the more divine. Okay? So they created a bigger stupa on his body. Now, for centuries and centuries, it is like this only. For few centuries, not centuries and centuries, it is like that. Now, when Ashoka has accepted Buddhism after the Kalinga War and he started promoting Buddhism, in fact, he convened the Third Buddhist Council. So that's the moment when Ashoka has decided that he will create many stupas on the remains of the Buddha. Okay? So remains का एक concept होता है in Oriental religions, all the religions which emerged in the Indian subcontinent. So they all preserve the remains. In Buddhism also, that preservation of the remains happens. So as in the Hinduism, so as in the Jainism. Okay? And in fact, the practice is also that immersing it into Ganga. Okay? So here also the remains of the Buddha are still intact inside that particular mound which was created at the death place of the Buddha. And what was the death place of the Buddha? No idea. Kushinagar in eastern UP. So now what happened? And Kushinagar was actually the part of the Mallamaha Janpad, which was a part that in Mallamaha Janpad, the kingdom of the Buddha was also there. And what was his kingdom? Kapilavastu. Okay? So let's come to this part. Now Ashoka has decided that he will create many stupas on the remains of the Buddha. And initially in the beginning what he has done, that he has divided the remains of the Buddha into 9 parts. And these remains of Buddha, as per the legend say, as per that historical facts say, that it was kept in a vessel. Okay? It was kept in a vessel inside in the Kushinagar. Okay? Now what has happened, that vessel has been removed and it has been divided into 9 parts. And on the 9 parts, 9 early stupas were created by Ashoka. So these 9 early stupas, generally people, that general perception is that it must have been associated with the direct events of the life of the Buddha. But actually, except few places, rest of the places where the stupa was created were not directly associated. They were associated with the Buddha, but not main events of the Buddha's life. So where these stupas were created, I'm writing these parts or these places. So obviously Kushinagar to hoga hi, because this is the place from where they have got the remains. Okay? And then Kapilavastu, which was the kingdom of the Buddha. So it was created over here. Then Pipalvina, Pava, Rajgir, Vaishali. Then Alakap, Ramagram, Ramgram and Veddeep. So these were the places, 9 places where the कितना लिखा है मैंने 9 है. So 9 places where the 9 early stupas were created on the remains of the Buddha. ठीक है? So remains of the Buddha, and in fact some remains were also kept separately. In fact those remains were later on they were sent to the other places. Ashoka has sent it to the Sri Lanka also, and he has sent it to the Myanmar also. Okay? Even it has gone to the Thailand also. So when the Buddhist missions were happening, so little bit of the remains are also sent to the other countries. So एक बार लिखो mention. Stupa is a Sanskrit word. Stupa is a Sanskrit word which means heap of sand, which means heap of sand or mound. Mention. Heap of sand or mound. Its origin can be traced to Vedic period. Full stop. In those times, divine rishis were cremated in stupa formation, after their death. Then mention, paragraph change karo. After the death of Buddha, his followers cremated him in a bigger stupa formation. Bigger stupa formation. Full stop. Mention. When Asoka accepted Buddhism, he divided the relics of Buddha into 9 parts. Relics of Buddha into 9 parts. Relics, RELICS, of Buddha into 9 parts, and on each of them a stupa was created. At following places. So write these 9 places: Kushinagar, Kapilvastu, Pipalvina, Pava, Rajgir, Vaishali, Alakap, Ramagram and Vethdeep. So Ramagram and Vethdeep. Visible, na? So now listen. After the 9 stupa, early stupas, their design was very simple. Okay? Very simple. But then the sophisticated stupas Asoka will be creating once again after the completion of the 9 stupa has happened. So in the second phase, it is said that after the completion of these 9 stupas, Asoka decided that he will not limit himself to the 9 only, but then he will further create n number of the stupa. So in this regard, he started a policy, and name of the policy was Calm and Glad. Okay? So Calm and Glad policy, what does it mean? That by this policy he wanted to create as number of the stupas in the different parts of the Indian subcontinent, outside the Indian subcontinent also, so that the people maybe they will have a chance to look at the life of the Buddha, and then accordingly if they inculcate the life of Buddha, so their hearts would be calm and glad. Then so this is what is he started. Moreover, as per the details, that it is said that he created near about 84,000 stupa, which is little exaggerated because we haven't found 84,000 stupas. In the books it has written that it was the policy of the Asoka to create 84,000 stupas, but then he did not create 84,000, but definitely he created the maximum number of the stupas in the different parts of the country. Then so mention, iske baad likho, change paragraph and then you write, after the completion of early stupas, Asoka initiated Calm and Glad policy. Asoka initiated Calm and Glad policy, whereby he wanted to make the hearts and the minds of people calm and glad by emulating life of Buddha. Then so now we are going into the construction part. I'll create an image, and image how you will be creating. Then so listen, ये बहुत जेनेरिक इंस्ट्रक्शन आई एम गिविंग फ्रॉम द एजेस. सो हॉरिजॉन्टल पेज पे इमेज बनाना, ठीक है, ऐसे नहीं, स्ट्रेट नहीं बनाना, ठीक है. एंड तीन चार 4-5 images are there. So one part, that bigger stupa part would be there, and there would be small images over here, ठीक है. So do it in this way. I am also going to create the stupa. So इसमें भी बहुत सारी symbolic meaning है. So first we will create circular premise. Done. And in this circular premise, the second thing is gateways. So let's create gateways first. It's not solar system I'm creating. मैंने बस डिजाइन चेंज किया है. So these are the gateways, and in the middle मेधी, and मेधी के ऊपर don't create it like me. बाद में फिर then you'll have a problem. Fine. So then on the top of it, what we need to create, that's it. So everything is complete. One last part, that is relics of the Buddha. So relics, chalo. That's it. So now mention the names. So this part we call Vedika. Boundary wall is called as Vedika. These are the 4 gateways, and gateways are known as Torana. So 4 Toran are there. Then this inner part, the rectangular one, is called as Medhi. Medhi. This part is Anda. Yeah, it's called as Anda. And then these are relics of Buddha. So a triangular wala part, how do I create? So these are relics of Buddha. Relics of Buddha. Then this one is Hermika. Hermika. Yasti. Yasti. And combinedly, these three are Chhatri. And this is Pradakshina Path. Ambulatory passageway. Then some of you are very quick. इतना भी क्विक मत हो कि 1.5 घंटे में पेपर करके बैठ जाओ. So Vedika mein, if you want, you can write in the brackets that is boundary wall and Torana is the gateway. Do it fast. There are so many concepts. So I'll not be removing it, ठीक है? बनाते रहना, but I'll go into explanation. Should I? Chalo. So as you can see that this is basically the design that we are going to see in the second phase when Asoka has constructed more than 84,000 stupa as per the legends. Then, so there will be a relics of the Buddha, and this relics of the Buddha, understand that it is covered. Then, so Medhi as a structure, ध्यान से समझो, Medhi as a structure, it is a closed structure. Nobody can enter inside the Medhi. तो एक बार relics of the Buddha is kept inside and Medhi is created, nobody can enter inside it. ठीक है? So that is one part. Then the Anda part is there, and the rest of the part we'll go into the explanation. But first of all, let's start with the Vedika. So Stupa's boundary wall is called as Vedika, and those were the times when Vedika was not a plain Vedika. These Vedikas were engraved with the Jatak Katha. And what is Jatak Katha? Folk narratives. So Jatak Kathas are based on the previous life story of the Buddha. Okay? So entire wall from all the sides, it is engraved with the life story of the Buddha. Okay? Moreover, the Toranas, which are the gateways of the stupa, the Toranas or the gateways are also a plenty with the Jatak Katha. Okay? So not only the Jatak Kathas are there on the wall, but also on the Toranas. Okay? Gateways. There are 4 gateways. Okay? So there are 4 gateways. There is a purpose of it. Generally, people say that 4 gateways are indicative of the 4 direction. Not wrong. Then, but they not entirely captures the truth of the Buddhism. Okay? So the 4 gateways in the Buddhism are indicative of the 4 important life event of Buddha. And what are these 4 important life event of Buddha? His birth. Okay? First one. Then after his birth, when he is achieving Nirvana. Second event. And third event, his first ceremony, Dharma Chakra Parivartan. And the 4th one is his death, Mahapari Nirvana. So these 4 events are indicated from the 4 gateways. But then, which gate indicates which event? So for that, चाहो तो बनाना अलग पेज पे, ठीक है, but you can leave also. I'm just creating for understanding that how it is moving. So if we look at map of India, and what is required over here? Only the eastern part of India. Then only this much is required. अब ध्यान से समझो. So these four places where four important life events of Buddha. His birth was at Lumbini. ठीक है? Then his nirvana at Bodh Gaya. Enlightenment is in Bodh Gaya. ठीक है? That is nirvana. Then he gave his first sermon at Sarnath, and his death happened at Kushinagar. So these are the four places which are depicted on this map. When we look at the Lumbini, so Lumbini is the tri-junction of the UP Bihar Nepal border. Then, so UP Bihar Nepal border, we can create Lumbini over here. Okay? From Lumbini, then Bodh Gaya will go into Bihar. Okay? Bodh Gaya se Varanasi, Sarnath over here, and Kushinagar in this direction over here. Then, so then now, if we look at the movement of the Buddha, right? So from Lumbini is the birthplace, so this is the first place. No direction we are assigning to it. But then he is moving in which direction? Batao, south. Okay? So Bodh Gaya is south. Then from Bodh Gaya to give his first sermon, he is moving in which direction? West. Okay? So west, and this is Sarnath. So Sarnath ko hum west bol denge. Then from west he is moving in which direction? North. Okay? So he is moving in north, and north is Kushinagar. Okay? So this automatically becomes east. Okay? And east is the birth. So accordingly the gateways are created inside the stupa. Or basically not created, gateways are associated with the life events of Buddha. I hope ये movement तो समझ में आया. Then now let's come to the stupa part. I'll bring it later on. Now understand. In this one, so tell me the north. Which gate is north? North. This is east. This one south and west. East is birth. Place is Lumbini. North is Kushinagar. And the event is death. So death को बुद्धिज्म में बोलते हैं महापरिनिर्वाण. So death is called as महापरिनिर्वाण. Then south is Bodh Gaya, and event is nirvana. Event is nirvana, enlightenment of the Buddha. And west direction is Sarnath, and the event is Dharma Chakra Parivartan. Dharma Chakra Parivartan. So each of the gateways are indicative of the important life event of the Buddha. Done? So meanwhile, I'll bring that image also, but फिर से आगे समझो. So what is this? अब अंदर चलते हैं. Toranas are the gateways. We understood that 4 directions they have been created, but then 4 life events are associated with it. So this is Medhi. Medhi is a closed structure, ठीक है? And inside the Medhi, the relics of the Buddha is kept, ठीक है? Then apart from it, what is this? Pradakshina Path. It is ambulatory passageway, but in the normal terms, what we call Parikrama Path, ठीक है? So it is an open Parikrama Path, circular, and devotees, they worship the, or followers, they worship the stupa from the Pradakshina Path itself. Okay? So that is the purpose of the Pradakshina Path. Then this part, Anda will talk about it later, that what is the purpose of the Anda or what it represents. Harmika is considered as the most sacred space of the stupa. Why it is most sacred space of the stupa? So basically it is indicative of the sacred column which is in line with the relics of the Buddha. So if we create a straight line from the Harmika, so this is actually representing the relics of the Buddha. So this is the most sacred space it is representing. What is Yasti? So Yasti is considered as axis of the earth. Okay? So axis of the earth. Then, so this symbolism, and then these Chhatris. So the three Chhatris are representative of the three important things in the Buddhism, that is Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Three Ratna of Buddhism, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So upper one, the smallest one is Buddha. Meaning of the Buddha is the awakened one. Dhamma, second one, okay, is the doctrines of the Buddhism. And Sangha is the monastic order of the Buddhism. Okay? So these are represented from the Chhatris. Write little bit, then further we'll create some more diagrams. Second page pe likhna, not on the image page. So meanwhile, mention. So, what is the last line? Emulating the life of the Buddha. Okay? So the first part of stupa premise, is Vedika, the boundary wall. The first part of stupa premise is Vedika, the boundary wall. Vedika, boundary wall. Full stop. It is engraved with Jatak Katha or folk narratives. Jatak Katha or folk narratives based on the previous life story of Buddha. Based on the previous life story of Buddha. Then mention. Four gateways known as Toranas. Four gateways known as Toranas are created in the stupa. Full stop. Toranas are also decorated with Jatak Katha. Full stop. Moreover, they also represent four important life events of Buddha. They also represent four important life events of Buddha. Now write. East Toran. So point wise likh lo. East Toran represents his birth at Lumbini. East Toran represents his birth at Lumbini. South represents Nirvana at Bodh Gaya. South represents Nirvana at Bodh Gaya. West Toran represents Dharma Chakra Parivartan. धर्म चक्र परिवर्तन at Sarnath, and north represents Mahaparinirvana or his death at Kushinagar. Mahaparinirvana or his death at Kushinagar. Done? So this is what is about the gateways. Take care. Then, moreover, the relics of Buddha are kept inside. Relics of Buddha are kept inside an enclosed structure Medhi. Kept inside an enclosed structure Medhi. Full stop. Moreover, mention full stop के बाद लिखो. Harmika on the top of semicircular dome. Harmika on the top of semicircular dome represent the most sacred space. Represents the most sacred space of stupa. The most sacred space of stupa. Then उसके बाद लिखो most sacred space of stupa. Yes, along spire yasti. Long spire, ठीक है, SPIRE, spire yasti represents axis of the earth. And then you can create one small diagram, the space that where you have created, और उसमें भी लिख लेना. So पहले writing वाला काम कर लो and then you can create the diagram. So the three horizontal disc in varying sizes. The three horizontal disc in varying sizes represent Buddha, awakened one, Dhamma, doctrines, and Sangha, monastic order. Monastic order. Then you write, these three chhatris are combinedly referred as three Ratna of Buddhism. Combinedly referred as three Ratna of Buddhism. Three jewels of Buddhism. Write one more line and then we'll go into another image. So mention Pradakshina Path. Pradakshina Path is an open ambulatory passageway. Ambulatory, how you write? AMBULATORY. Ambulatory passageway. From where? the followers and the devotees, from where the followers and the devotees access stupa for the purpose of worship. Access stupa for the purpose of worship. Then, so this is details of the things which are there inside the stupa or outside the stupa, what is visible to us. Then there is one more concept involved over here. Give me a little bit of time. Fine. Chalo, theek hai. So this is all fine. We are done with it. So now listen. So overall, stupa is considered as the representation of the Buddha's body itself. ठीक है? And in a way, it is also considered as the microcosm of the universe. So when we are mentioning that spire was the axis of the earth, okay? So it's a representation of the microcosm, you understand? Smaller representation of the universe, okay? But then the more important is the last part that we are doing right now. So stupa is considered to be, okay? So it is regarded as that this is the body of the representation of the body of the Buddha himself, okay? So representation of the body of the Buddha himself. Then, so now understand that this Medhi part, don't go by the design, but then this Medhi part is regarded as the meditating leg of the Buddha. So this is meditating leg. Then Anda is considered to be the middle body. Okay? So this is middle body of Buddha. And then this entire part, it will include, ye pura ka pura part. So this will include, this is indicative of the neck and head of the Buddha. So this is representation of the Buddha's body itself. And where is the Buddha's prana? So prana is this one. Okay? The relics which is kept over here. So likho, ek bar mention that overall, stupa is regarded as representation of Buddha's body. A representation of Buddha's body. Mention. Medhi represents meditating leg of Buddha. Medhi represents meditating leg of Buddha. Anda represents his middle body. Anda represents his middle body. And Harmika Yasti Chhatri. And Harmika Yasti Chhatri. Yasti Chhatri represents the neck and head of Buddha. Neck and head of Buddha. Moreover, stupa is also regarded as Moreover, stupa is also regarded as microcosm of the universe. Microcosm of the universe. Microcosm of the universe. Then, so you have seen that hell lot of symbolic meanings are there in the stupa. Okay? That each and every part has some sort of meaning. Okay? And these are the meanings which are asked in the exams. Then, so you must be prepared about it. So this is about the stupa concept. Then, and generally in the rest of the areas, की थोड़ा कम revision required होता है, but stupa if you don't revise it today, so you will forget it. ठीक है? So I would suggest that you must revise it by today itself. ठीक है? So tomorrow तो class है नहीं? Do we have? Saturday. So Saturday will be completing the Maurya and we'll start with the post-Maurya age, Mathura, Gandhar and Amravati sculpture. ठीक है? चलो, thank you. So जैसे बनाना है, you can, if you want, you can create it. But जरूरत नहीं, एक बार समझ में आ गया है, so फिर then that's fine. ठीक है?